me, after whatever ugly issue might have happened, the beauty of it is that the evidences abound. The evidences abound because there are polling agents who had copies of what happened at the PUs. There are individuals who voted at those PUs who also have copies of what happened at each of the PUs. Now that those same results are being posted, as of yesterday when I checked, about 90% of them are already on IREV. So there is a basis to say, these are the report from the PU. This is what is on the IREV. There are contradictions there, and the contradiction is so pervasive that it could have changed, that was strong enough to change the course of matter. And then the court or INEC in its review will be able to make a decision. So this is the way to go.
All right. Take this one. Supreme Court ruling. Compliance by CBN must be immediate.
It has to be immediate. There's no other option. Even the lawyer of the federal government, who was Kano Agabi, SAN, after the judgment, that was the first thing he said. That, look, the court has spoken, and we have no option than to obey in totality what the Supreme Court has said. It is important that this was part of what I said the last time when I made a comment on this on the studio. That, look, there may be issues here and there, but the survival of democracy in itself rests squarely on the Supreme Court and its ability and its pronouncement, as well as other structures within the system. Without the Supreme Court, without respect for the Supreme Court and its pronouncement, the alternative is actually chaos. So do we want chaos or we want order? While not forgetting the fact that it behoves on the Supreme Court to find out, why are people sometimes doubting what I do? What do I need to do to build that trust and confidence in the people? And do exactly that, so that the judicial system, as the last hope of the common man, is not lost.
All right. Well, now let's go back to politics. U.S. senator, is a ranking senator in the U.S., asks government not to rush to embrace Nigerian election results.
Yeah, I guess he must be speaking on the heels of the complaints, the grievances being expressed about the election. And that is because the U.S. has already congratulated the president-elect, UK has congratulated the president-elect, France has congratulated the president-elect, ECOWAS has congratulated the president-elect. So all these congratulations are flowing in. But there is still a grievance somewhere. So that is why this senator is saying, look, don't be in a hurry. Because the way, what congratulation does, what congratulation messages will do, is sort of subtly lending credibility, acceptance to the result. That is what it is doing. So that's why this senator is saying, hang on a little bit. Let's wait, because there are grievances to be settled.
Okay. Drama as Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, and 4 others discontinue suit seeking to void Tinubu's victory.
Well, that is interesting.
It's a drama, right?
Yesterday we started to hear of states that are going to court to challenge the conduct of the election in their various states. So it's surprising that today now we're hearing that some of those states have also pulled out. They might have their reasons for pulling out, and the reasons might actually also be legal. Because the question is, if some states are already doing that, even if you come along, what will happen is that the court will join the cases together, because the subject matter is the same, and make the declaration. So in the real sense, it might not make a difference whether it is one state or it is 10 states that are doing it. If the subject matter is one, it's the same.
Well, I'll take this. IPOB rejects Kano's medical treatment in DSS clinic.
Well, there has been issues around Kano's health, and the federal government has also gotten on top of that to say, look, even I, as federal government, I don't want any hurt to come to this man in my custody. So federal government has been providing the health care. But I think what these people are saying now is that, look, they are not comfortable with that care. So I believe there's a way that Kanu, his lawyers and his sympathizers, as well as the federal government, the DSS, or through any of his other agencies, can come to an agreement on the kind of health care that he deserves or that he wants and be able to give it to him without compromising anything. We've seen this happen before. We've had a situation in which someone in government custody, El Zakzaki, had to be moved to, I think that was in India.
Yeah,
Yes, they did that. So all these things can be worked out. It's not something that has not been done before. Give the man the health care that he wants, that he deserves, or that will cure him. Yeah, that's important.
All right, from the Sun, we go to the Vanguard, and the Vanguard leads with Naira. You disobeyed us, attempted to sacrifice democracy. Supreme Court slams Buhari.
Yeah, it was part of where I started from. When Buhari when he made that announcement about the 200 naira note circulating, it wasn't in good faith as far as democracy is concerned. You cannot pull down that institution. You cannot disobey the Supreme Court. Like they say, the Supreme Court is not final because it is always right. No. But it is always right because it is final. When he says that is the end of the matter, it is closed. When the Supreme Court...
Except it reverts itself.
Except that is the only one who can revert itself. Otherwise, your appeal is to God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Why INEC cannot be trusted again? That's Nigerians.
Yeah.
Surprised?
No. Have we ever? We know that right from 1999 till date, every presidential election has been contested. I would say maybe the least contested one was 2015, and it was still contested up to the Supreme Court level. The only difference was that the candidate himself in 2015 did not go to court. But his party still went to court to say, look, we deserve that winning. This is it. So it is a pattern that people will go to court after an election like this.
Does it tell you Nigerian politicians are bad losers?
Well, they are bad losers. But at the same time, more than a few times, very serious issues have been raised. Very serious issues, because if people lost and they knew that they lost and they felt that they lost, the chances are reduced that the litigations will keep coming back. Look at in the case of Jonathan, for example, he believed that, look, I actually lost this election. And he didn't bother to go to court, though his party still went and lost at the court. So the process, we need to improve the process to make it more credible as well, so that when people lose, they know that they lost and they can walk away. But for as long as we are not right there, we will continue to see these litigations.
Here, this one, still in the Vanguard. Why I want federal government to release me before Buhari leaves? Cano tells the UK.
Okay, well, I believe his case will be revisited. That's my own projection. That after these election issues are cleared, because look at part of the fear of the federal government is that he has a huge followership. And we also have seen some of the kind of broadcast and influence that he's capable of in the past. I remember all those radio communications in the days of the End SARS protest. Directions that we all listened to on radio. Some of those audios, horrendous, horrible audios, asking people to go and kill somebody, to go and set something on fire and all the rest. Even if whatever happened did not happen by virtue of his words. Those words were not, they were quite insightful. So you can imagine dropping a Cano in the midst of the kind of brouhaha that we have right now. It may not go well for national security. But I believe that once this air around grievances around the election is over, Cano's case will be revisited. As at now, the stay of execution that was granted by the appeal court is what the federal government is riding riding on. But that stay of execution will not be forever because there is a case to be dealt with.
All right, let's return to politics. Presidential poll, Tinubu continues legal team, constitutes, I should say, legal team against Atiku and Obi.
Definitely. Atiku is putting together his own legal team too, I believe. Obi is doing the same. So the respondent, in this case, Tinubu, must be doing the same as well. There will be a lot of fireworks at the court. But at the end of the day, based on evidence or evidences, the court will be able to make a decision one way or the other.
CBN's Naira redesign was sabotage. Buhari was betrayed. This is Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi.
Maybe it was sabotage.
It's privy to an information
we're not privy to. But at the same time, the CBN did not implement a cashless policy. It implemented a vote buying, curbing policy. That is what it did. So it is not surprising that the policy fell flat on its back. If you're going to migrate people from the cash that they're used to a cashless environment, there are several very important things that you must do. The stability of the existing system must be there. So you don't want a situation in which in the middle of this so-called cashless policy, some banks will go out for 2 weeks, people can't do anything on their platform. And the other ones that are there were epileptic in and out. If you're going to do that, you must make sure that the transition go right down to the grassroots, the ordinary, the informal sector of this economy. How exactly were you going to translate them, to transform them into the new platform that you want them to be used? No steps were taken in that direction. So they were sabotaged, but in my opinion, it was sabotaged by CBN in itself because the motive appeared to be not to run a cashless policy, but to curb vote buying.
Okay then, 7:16, 16 past 7, and that's radio time from the VOP 90.3 FM in Lagos, and this is the newspaper headliners. Hear this one, Bola. Tinubu's victory. Wike thanks Nigerians, says rotational presidency settled.
You know, Wike is a controversial person, and he had left nobody in doubt as to that kind of personality that he has been. Of course, in his own state, he ensured that. Well, don't let me use the word ensured. the party or the person that he supported won in that state. And he has said that the basis for his fight ab initio was because he believed in rotational presidency and that it is the turn of the South to produce the president. And the current president-elect, as it were, is from the South. So that's the basis for his argument. But it's not yet Uhuru. Because as we are aware, there are grievances and there are court processes to be run through.
Tinubu extends olive branch to Atiku and Obi and Kwankwaso.
Well, it's all part of the issue. While the court case or the court cases will go on and must go on, because see, some of the matters some of the issues at the heart of this matter are even beyond those candidates themselves. The feelings of other people, the sympathizers, the followership, the voters, must also be assuaged, and that is why the issue of going to the court is important. It is in the resolution at the court that those people will be pacified. But while all the court processes are going on, it is perfectly in order to start reaching out and see what can be done in terms of resolving the grievances.
All right, Balahan, let's go to the nation now. Leads with this one. Supreme Court, old Naira notes valid till December 31st.
Very interesting judgment. You know, when the Supreme Court, there was a particular use of a word that the Supreme Court actually said that the disobedience of its previous order was dictatorial. So the president was being brought back to the memory of his General Buhari as opposed to President Buhari, that act or action was dictatorial. Now, we're back to this order in which 200, 500, 1,000 Naira notes can now circulate. And the question is, so what exactly, beyond punishment of the people, did we achieve?
Which was largely avoidable.
It was largely avoidable. What did we achieve with that policy while it lasted?
All right, hear this one. Mbeki, that's Thabo Mbeki, Dangote, governors, others visit president-elect in Abuja.
Yeah, that is already going on. I saw the profuse congratulatory message by IBB for the president-elect. So you have governors, I've seen Dangote, other people are visiting. It's expected. This is how things will normally go because realignment is already happening. Even among some of the core followership of the people who are aggrieved in this election, I can assure you that some of them are already sending messages to the president-elect. That is part of the realignment, but it doesn't take anything away from the fact that those grievances must still be legally resolved, as well as resolved beside the legality beside the legalese. You have to be other ways also.
How do you react to this? Fayose denies resignation from PDP.
Well, I saw it in some newspapers or news media that he has resigned. I said that the party chairman has misled their candidate, and therefore he was resigning. I saw it in some report. But this is the man saying, no, I did not resign, no, I'm still a party man. So somebody must have gotten a wrong communication right there. And I hope those people who reported it can also carry this rebuttal that he did not resign.
Okay, Nigerian professor, the word professor is in parentheses, sacked by Oxford University.
Yeah, the gentleman is a visiting professor in Oxford. And what the people who fired him were saying is that he is an abuse. He has abused the privilege that comes with that role that he has been given for some other things for which he was not intended or he wasn't supposed to use it for. And those institutions, they have a name to keep. They have a name to protect. They will not allow you to drag the name that has been built. Everybody must have heard of Oxford. So that name is powerful. And they will not have anybody drag it in the mud by virtue of some personal motives and interest. That was what was going on there.
How about this? Why I refused to sign peace accord in Gombe, PDP gubernatorial candidate.
Of course, he didn't sign peace accord, probably because he didn't think there was going to be peace or whatever. But I think the optics are okay. There's nothing stopping anybody from, participating in those kind of, I call it a show in a way, because in the real sense, I'm not sure that it stops anything. Even the one that are signed at national level, I think about 3 of them were signed about 3 times. We signed about 3 times, but we saw that there was still issue. And part of what they are signing is also that there will be a willingness to accept the result of the poll. So not only was there violence, though this election was obviously the least violent that we can remember in recent history. But he has his own challenges, some of which are very major. But it is what it is.
Bolahon, this is startling. Police sergeant kills mistress and self in Kwara.
Quite unfortunate. I read that story yesterday and I was like, this is serious. He not only killed this mistress, he also killed himself. And what for? Crime of passion, they call those kind of thing. You betray me or you went and had an affair with somebody else. Therefore, the two of us, I'm sure they must have received some heavy slap from the devil now, for whatever they did.
Relate this one to that. 11 suspects held with human parts in Ibadan.
This human part issues I don't know, because
does it really do they really bring money?
by the time you see some of the people that are arrested, you are wondering, so you've been selling this human head for this while, and you're still looking like this. So it does not change your life. Does it bring money? When money is changed, does he also have his own CBN somewhere in the spiritual realm where new notes will start to come out from? Or I don't know. I don't believe in this. But for whatever reason, it's an interesting proportion of the populace believe in it. And across every part of Nigeria, you see this thing happening all the time. I don't know. Meanwhile, if you say, what are the religions now? They will say they are Christian or they are Muslims. They say those are the two major religions. All the other religions in Nigeria are repressed. They don't exist. Is it Christianity that is this, or is it Islam? Obviously not. It appears as if our faith are still largely traditional, and even traditional religion does not preach what these guys are doing. This is devilish. This is evil.
It's simply poverty at work.
That makes people believe that...
poverty of the intellect.
Yeah. But it's unfortunate, because in the course of this, their poverty of intellect, some lives are lost. Some of these human heads are being exhumed from buried people, while some people are killed.
My trouble is
to get some of these things.
Punished.
They might be punished. We probably never know how their cases will end, because they're not big people.
I'm not preempting anybody or anything. Hear this one. Court dismisses suit seeking removal of APC Matawale from Zamfara Gubapol.
Oh yeah, that has been long in the works, but apparently that case has been dismissed. Along the line with, there have been previous cases along that same line which have been dismissed. So the court is just being consistent as far as the subject matter of that suit is concerned.
How about this? 26 million naira pension fraud. Court jails ex-head of service chief accountant.
26 million or billion?
Yeah. Million, that's what I'm saying.
26 million. Well, that's a good one.
It's too small.
Because I know say one man they will be saying a billion then talk. I don't know whether that one done they jail.
No. The case is
the case is still on. You see what I'm saying? That was why I was asking, is this 1 billion or not?
It's million, yeah.
This is why some people will say, stealing in Nigeria, make they steal small money. Say, we steal big. Because people who steal big in Nigeria don't get punished. So there was a man who has stolen in billions. What's the name of that man now? I've forgotten his name now.
Ahmed, the AGF, accountant general.
There's accountant general. There's a former pension guy that they brought in from Niger. Right. All those cases, where are they? I'm not so sure if that man is in jail as we speak. Now there's a 26 million guy
he's doing sentence
who is going to jail, and that is fantastic. Impunity is a very serious matter in Nigeria. The more of these people we can put behind the bars, the better for the country.
Okay, to the Guardian now. Appeal court grants Atiku Obi leave to inspect election materials.
Yeah, this is in preparation for the suit, because there now has to be evidences. A chunk of those evidences are in those election materials. So the court has granted them a leave. Go into the archives or where the storage of INEC, have access to those materials and be able to prepare your case before me. So those are part of the evidences that will be brought before the court in the course of this litigation.
Anxiety as NLC, that's Nigeria Labour Congress, backs maritime workers' threat to shut down ports.
Shutting down ports are things that we should, by every means, avoid. We have a situation in which over the last couple of months, we have shut down the growth of this economy with cashless policy, with petrol issues, and a few other things that we have not done right. The cashless has been particularly horrendous. We crashed the productivity of Nigerians as they had to spend hours upon hours looking for cash. We also created all sorts of problems, burning down of banks, and also, we reduced the amount of activities that was going on in the economy. We cannot put this one on top. So for me, as much as possible, we should avoid this strike. we have a notice now. We have a notification that a strike is coming. The authorities that are concerned need to step in, speak to the parties concerned, and resolve this so that we can avoid shutting down of the port. Shutting down of the port is another economic, adding to the economic calamity that we have on ground.
Try this for size, Bolaho. Aregbesola greets Tinubu, says election call to service.
Well, we all know that these two people had a spat some times ago. Very, very, fairly bad one in which words were, at least Aregbesola said some very strong words, though I'm not so sure that Tinubu responded. So apparently, maybe they are mending fences, mending fence. Let's see how that proceeds. It's good for them at their party level. It will be like PDP resolving with G5 kind of a situation, because these are also very strong men in that particular party.
Sanwo-Olu promises justice for Whitney as commissioner visits family.
Oh, yeah. Very, very sad situation. May her soul rest in peace. It's quite unfortunate how we have treated issues of safety, especially safety that also involve fiduciary relationships. So these children have been put in your care as teachers or as administrators of schools. You owe a duty of care. Whitney should not have died from electrocution. And I hope that those who drop the balls will have their own fair share of the sanction under our laws.
Church empowers youths, registers 247 for JAM exams in Lagos.
Oh,
the redeemed
church. Oh, okay. That is a corporate social responsibility.
Yeah.
I believe. It's all good, and I hope that other segments of the society will find a way to also contribute, whether you're religious bodies or you're corporate, your businesses and the rest of it. There are always those opportunities for corporate social responsibility. Kudos to the Redeemed Church, and I hope others will continue along the same line as well.
Make Africa your canvas, Mbeki tells President-elect.
Well, Africa has always been the focus of Nigeria's international policy, or what do you call it now? That's what it has been. Foreign policy, that's the right word. Has been focused on Africa. And it's just a wake-up call. Africa is a huge market in itself. But what has been established is that intra-Africa trade is so tiny, which means Africa does more trade with the other people outside of Africa than it does with itself. So Nigeria must begin to see itself. This is the largest country in Africa in terms of population. Must begin to see, refocus, rebuild the vibrancy of its foreign policy and see Africa as a canvas. Set examples, not just in terms of the economy, but also in terms of democracy and democratic credentials. It is important.
Okay, Tinubu constitutes legal team to defend mandate.
Yeah, we spoke about that. It's right about time because the fireworks are about to start. When the election sands, election lawyers, it is their season. It's their season. We're going to see them in numbers, in this season.
What about this now? Rivers APC factions bicker over support for Wike's Guba candidate.
It's a very very tricky situation that APC and PDP have put itself into in Rivers. So you have a situation in which APC has a Guba candidate in Rivers as well as PDP. Now, Wike had supported APC for the presidential election. And there's an expectation, a natural expectation that APC will support its own Guba candidate, which is a PDP candidate.
Natural.
But APC also has a Guba candidate in that election. So it's pretty tricky. But I know politicians, they will find their way of resolving matters like this. They'll find their own way. But it's really tricky.
Okay, let's move to the leadership newspapers now. INEC yet to declare dozens of National Assembly seats 7 days after elections.
Can you say that again? Please?
INEC yet to declare dozens of National Assembly seats 7 days after election.
Yeah, it means those ones have some challenges to be resolved. Maybe some of those that have not been declared right now might actually be up for some sort of rerun, because all results, at least the physical results, if not the IREV results, are in now. And even now, I've not checked IREV this morning, but as of yesterday, about 90% of the results are already on IREV. So these ones definitely have some problems, and maybe they will end up as a rerun.
What about this, Bola? Gbajabiamila denies ownership of Maitama building used to hack INEC.
Yes, well, INEC has said that his beavers was not hacked anyway. But there was this report about a house in Maitama where some arrests were made. We saw the police van, and some people actually got arrested, and there were beavers machines involved. But the subsequent news that we read was that those guys actually supplied the beavers. They were the people that initially supplied the beavers, even to INEC in itself. So it wasn't a case of what INEC was saying. It wasn't a case of they were, hacking beavers for INEC or for whoever was interested. However, while that controversy was going on, people have said, "Oh, the building that those people were belonged to Gbajabiamila." So Gbajabiamila is saying, "No,
no be me get up.
No be me get up."
Okay, Abga APC bicker over Ebonyi rerun.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think in Ebonyi there was a death before that election. Someone got killed, just like we also had in Enugu. I believe this story is wrapped around that incident. So there will definitely be issues around that. I think it's the National Assembly election in Ebonyi.
Benue PDP accuses INEC of non-compliance with electoral law, rejects results.
Yeah, that's one of the states that have gone to court. I believe that the court will consolidate the states' cases because they are the same and speak to it once and for all.
Okay, then. Here, this one. Abia Central election, we're still studying the results. Akubundu.
Oh, yeah. Abia Central result, well, it's one of those things that will happen from this particular election. There will be disputed one. And those disputed ones, just like the presidential in itself, will end up in court. So over the next few months, some of those things will still be going on.
But do you realize many governors who made attempts to go to the Senate got flawed?
Yeah. It's also an important win of this particular election. Because, you see, the sad part is that we are focused on the things that did not work or that did not make us happy about this election. Rightly so, because those things are fundamental and deep. But at the same time, there were things that went right in this election. But we're not celebrating them. They've been overshadowed by the problem that came with the election. One of it is the fact that major players, politicians, governors, lost elections. They lost their election. There's a way these governors like to transit into the National Assembly for some sort of retirement. It did not happen, though.
All right. I just saw this. Igbo charged to vote Lagos APC in March 11 election.
Well, apparently there are some reaching out must have been happening against the backdrop of what happened at the presidential election. At the presidential election, the Labour Party floored APC. In fact, PDP was nowhere to be found. It was like, I think 75,000 voters, something like that. Nowhere around. So the APC, the governor is APC and is trying to run for a second term. And going by what he saw during the presidential, definitely there will be some reaching out. However, the matter goes beyond reaching out, because those are endorsements. The people who are endorsing have only one vote. The real job is with the voters.
Okay. APC won't survive in Nasarawa PDP.
Well, APC lost to Nasarawa anyway. Labour, that's for the presidential election anyway. Labour won Nasarawa. But I don't know whether about the issue of whether they survive or not. I always believe in plurality of parties when we're talking of democracy. That is what will not give room to dictatorial tendencies. Yeah.
2023 polls. I haven't resigned from PDP, says Fayose.
That's the same
leadership.
story. Yeah, he hasn't resigned apparently,
Politics.
and they have resigned him on the pages of newspaper.
Under 20 soccer now, sports. Under 20 AFCON, Dare congratulates Flying Eagles for securing World Cup ticket.
Yes, so at least for once, we're on that ticket this time now. After missing out on some other championship.
And I'll do everything to help Napoli win Scudetto. That's Osimhen.
Osimhen, yeah. It's been a whiz kid on that particular in that team. But sometimes I ask myself, on the national team, we need to see more from our people when they come here. These guys do fantastically well.
It's a coach.
He's a coach. Okay, maybe he's a coach, or maybe he's a team, because like my people will say, a tree does not make a forest.
Yeah, but what I mean is how the coach plays him at Napoli is
maybe different
from how the coach plays him in the national team.
But even if he plays him in the same position, does he have the same support that he has in his? And that's another issue.
So don't preempt the coach. All right. Supreme Court faults Naira redesign policy, declares old notes valid till December 31st. We said that.
Yes, sir.
How foreign press reported Tinubu's election victory?
How did they report it? All sort of reportage. But what is clear is that there has been congratulatory messages from all those countries. And, there was a report we took earlier where a senator was saying, hang in there. There are grievances on the ground. Can we allow these grievances to settle before all this congratulations? I mean, like I said, Macron has congratulated, UK has congratulated, America has congratulated, ECOWAS has congratulated. So the congratulations are coming in. But there's a dispute on floor.
Supreme Court verdict. APC asks Malami and others to resign for misleading Buhari on the Naira swap.
So we know they resign for here. Nobody resigns because somebody has said they resign. No. Unless they chose on their own to resign. Otherwise, story.
Okay. Let me say this. Okay, textile workers congratulate Oshiomhole over senatorial victory.
Yeah, Oshiomhole was one of the few that won his own senatorial bid.
Yeah.
But you have governors as strong as the Kebbi State governor, as Autumn, and all. They are lost. And that ran right across the entire nation. For me, it was one of the gains of this last election, apart from beavers.
Okay, Bolaho, that will just about do it on stories making the headlines this morning. Okay, if you feel up to reacting to the stories we have shared with you, why not? Call us now. Let's get to hear you. And please, when you get through, do not attempt to hear you over the radio. It messes up listenership. 0700 903 903 903. How do you react to the newspaper headliners we shared with you? Let's get cracking. But that bit about our politicians being bad losers, sore losers, is a fly in the ointment.
It is. It is. But over time, I believe that will improve. As the system, as the electoral system itself continues to improve, those litigations will reduce as well.
Okay then. 0700 903 903 903. That's the line to call this morning.
And you know, it all starts from even small things like party primaries.
We have
Hello,
a
good
first caller.
morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, always calling from Ghana.
Okay, from Isolo, right?
Yeah, Ghana.
Igondo.
Oh, Ugondo. Okay, let's go. Go on.
Yes. This election that took place, that just happened last Saturday, is one of the killing elections that I've ever witnessed
One of the
in this
what?
country. The keenly contested election that are very close to one another.
Okay. Yeah.
For the APC to lost a lot of their places in this election, and where the Labour or PDP won, are we going to say there's some fraud or manufactured over there? It's only where APC won.
Well, you know, our job here is not to conjecture or opinionate, you know. Anybody who feels aggrieved should go to court.
Because my feelings, since I've been witness election in Nigeria.
I'm
To
sorry,
me-
60 seconds are up. Thank you.
Okay.
We got you first time. 0700 903 903 903. Which story, which we shared with you, caught your fancy? Bear your mind. Let's talk about it now.
This is, I mean, what he was talking about is also an interesting part from the side of Nigerian voters. Nigerian voters seems to think that because all the parties are involved in some funny stuff or the other.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello?
Please keep your radio away from it. Please.
Hello?
Good morning to you.
Good morning. This is Charles from First House.
All right then, you are on air.
All right. Talking about Nigeria politicians being bad losers. The current president never congratulated his opponent when he lost election 3 times and he went to court. So it's their right to go to court. But my fear is that this present Supreme Court, PDP and Labour Party will never get any justice. So they should just forget it because this present Supreme Court will never deliver a good judgment. It's glaring that the election was rigged. There's no two ways about it. Here in Amu, we know who won the election, but, you know, there are so many with wide margin. But when the result came, they just give us whatever they like, and we accepted it like that. So this present Supreme Court will never deliver any judgment because people that did not contest in primary later become a Senate elect. Now,
All right.
in my state, where I came from, Imo State, somebody that came fourth later is the current incumbent governor. So what are we talking about? Thank you.
60 seconds are up. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
The only option that we have is a court system, and we should not pull it down.
And we don't preempt the court.
We don't preempt the court. Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
Please keep your radio out of it, please. Please.
I'm not speaking with my radio. I think I'm using an earphone. Let me remove my headphone.
Please.
Hello? Hello, good morning.
Yeah,
That's clear
it's
now.
a lot better. Your name, where you're calling from?
Okay, this is Mr. Harry Chooks. I'm sorry, I was using my headphone. I wasn't listening to anything.
Okay, go on.
around. Okay. What I want to say is the election has conducted in the manner at which every Nigerian has seen it, you understand, which is what what's it called? What the INEC never did what they actually told us they were going to do. But then at the end of the day, the result has been played out, you know, and the contenders who lost has been asked to go to court, which is the normal procedure.
But the point I actually want to talk about is the what's it called? When you were taking the headlines, you talked about the international community, the reporting, actually the reporting about the current president. From one particular I read that I saw from someone who stays there in Germany. Our president is not being labeled as someone with a good integrity. You know, he's not being seen as someone who's from the headlines from international community, he's not labeled as someone who is credible and someone with integrity. Let me just keep it that way. Let me not just go into detail, but that's just what the international reporters, the international communities are reporting about our president. And at this point in time, the way the election has come, you know, the party members who lost, you can see how calm they are. And I believe if there is any possibility...
we got you first time. Thank you. We got you first time. Yeah. All right, 0700 903 903.
You know the part I love the most about Peter Obi's post-election speech was when he said, this is a Nigerian matter. He was being asked questions about how the international... He said, no, this is a Nigerian matter, and it is indeed a Nigerian matter.
And Balahan, we don't need a PDP or APC or Labour answers to our problem. We need Nigerian problem answers.
Nigerian answers, yeah.
0700 903 903 903. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. I greet you.
My name is Arinze Kechuku, calling from Agoda.
Okay, Arinze. Welcome.
It's good thing that everywhere is calm now. But what I keep saying about the whole thing is that we all know the truth. If Peter Obi wants to go to court, let him go to court with his evidences to prove that he won the election. But then it's just for the world to see the results, clear result with the evidences. Not that anything will happen. If we keep saying go to court, is it not the same court in this country that a magistrate court will upturn the judgment of a high court? A high court will upturn the judgment. The moment they make pronouncement, whatever happens, it's not their business. When Supreme Court was making pronouncement on the residing of the Naira, don't the judge know that he doesn't have the jurisdiction to make that pronouncement? These are the same court that are saying go to court. It's fine to go to court. If a lawyer of Duro to me, I won't stop saying this, can say a lawyer of his caliber can say that Nigerian judiciary on Arise TV is worse than roadside prostitutes.
Oh boy.
Then what is the purpose of going there to
Who
West
said
Side?
that?
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a very sad comment.
My country is replete with conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
they are legion.
I don't think a lawyer will go on TV to say that.
Yeah. Hello, good morning to you. Hello, you're on air now. No luck. 0700 903 903 903. How do you react to the stories we shared with you? Yeah, you are going to
a couple of weeks ago when the president... Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, yes, sir. Lift up your voice. Lift up your voice.
My name from
All right, Samuel.
Thank you.
You are on.
Taiwo.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah. I want to talk about the court cases of about the election something. I want to say, I don't think there's anything that will come out of that case. If INEC says, I'm going to upload, and it did not upload, so what challenging is something when they were counting, he said to them that it is when I finish that you can make whatever you want to make. I will make a review. The review was not made. It is only the declaration we saw. The next thing is for them to say, okay, go to court, because they know from head to toe in the court, they are the one in control. So we've lost interest in the court. We've lost trust in them because we know whatever they decide there is what they are going to give. Thank you.
Thank you, Taiwo.
We shouldn't lose
sure
interest in the
remember
court.
12 to thirds takes us
Yes.
back to the second report.
You know, what I said something when in this program. I said the Supreme Court is not final because it is always right.
Yeah.
It is human beings that are there.
Yeah.
But it is always right because it is final.
Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, Citizen Jones. Good morning. Yes. So for me,
Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
this is Ola from Surulere. This election is one of the best elections since 1999.
The alternative.
The
view,
election where the governors cannot win just 1/3 of their state. The sitting governor with power of incumbency could not win 1/3 of their state. The Ashiwaju is losing his stronghold. Alimosho losing Lagos. And we are saying they rig. If they will look at the result in 1999, where we will be having million from UB, million from Bonu. We don't have that anymore. The Beavers did its work. We now have exact number of people that are voting, not inflated figure. So this is one of the best election Nigeria has ever had since 1999. And I will encourage people to go to court to challenge it, but people should not doubt and they should not try to demolish our judicial system. Supreme Court is the only thing we have. Thank you.
Many thanks. The trouble is preempting the court now.
Yes, we should not pull down our institution. Justice is also not when it favors my person.
Okay. Take this. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Put off your radio. I beg you.
Okay. Hello, good morning.
Put off your radio. I'm still hearing me over your radio.
Okay, can you hear me now? Good morning.
Your name, sir?
My name is Ebonyi. I'm calling from Maryland.
Emmanuel, you're on.
Well, I'm sorry to say this. The truth of the matter is, in Nigeria today, we all know what happened at the last election that was conducted on Saturday. Right? But my take is this. Asking the Labour Party, the PDP candidates to go to court, left to me, honestly speaking, it is of no use. The election was rightly won clearly, perfectly. It was won perfectly and clearly. We all know these things. And going to court for me...
Not all Nigerians know that.
That's what I was going to say. How did you know we all know?
Let me tell you, sir. Hello, sir. 70% of Nigerians, we know that 70% of Nigerians know that this election was won perfectly. Now, going to court left to me, those people you are going to meet in court, they are working for this present dispensation. So then what's the point?
All right.
Honestly speaking, if these people go to court, they won't get justice. Take it from me or leave it. Thank you.
Okay.
The right thing to do in it. If we don't want democracy, there's also an alternative.
Right.
But if we want democracy, the rule of law and the court system must be part of what we are going to adopt, what we work with. Very important.
Hello. One last call here. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Citizen Jones.
Yeah, I greet you.
Customer Dadani, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Ambassador Muslim from Asia.
Okay.
I think there's supposed to be a consequence for those who run that judiciary in this Nigeria, honestly.
There's going to be what? I missed that.
Consequence, those who run that judiciary. Yeah, there's also be. To me, in election, this is allowed because even though it's the Labour Party that won, APC and PDP must go to court. This reminds me when we played football in the USA 1994, when Argentina started beat Nigeria. We don't know how we are. Oh, we're going to play this. We're going to do this. So that's the election for you. Please, can you tell me what is that peace accord as signed? Can you just tell what is inside this peace accord? What's the necessity of this peace accord? So want to know, the girl wants to know. But please, go to court and let's be at peace. Never incite any anything that can cause problem, you pay for it to do that. Thank you.
Many thanks. And that will just about do it for telephone calls. Thank you for the reaction to the stories we shared with you. Balaho, that's it.
Yeah, for Nigerians, please let's exploit the court system. That is what democracy dictates. Please support the candidate. Atiku is a candidate that said, I'm going to court. Obia said, I'm going to court. We should not pull down our institutions. Let's go to court and resolve this with all the evidences that we have at our disposal.
All right, Balaho, many thanks for your time, but please hold on. That's it. We're out of here, but wait for the next show, which is a minute or two away.
I could be the one to talk, listen when you wanna talk, walk you home by 4 o'clock. I could be your gentleman, pick you up from your place, take you out on a date, something you'll never fake. Me, I'm just a
Hello,
gentleman.
this is your good radio pal, Citizen Jones Hussein, with the Voice of the People VOP Radio 90.3 on your dial. Join me, Citizen Jones, every Saturday 7 to 8 a.m. on newspaper headliners and 8 to 9 on Citizen Jones This Morning. I'll be sharing 2 solid hours of compact radio with you. Keep the date, Saturday 7 a.m. to 9. is in place, but not yet Uhuru, ahead of May 29. Two gentlemen join us now to broach the subject matter. Let's meet and greet in no particular order. Nelson Ekojimi. Nelson, good morning to you.
Good morning, Citizen Joes. Good morning, Nigerians.
Nelson is a good governance advocate.
And an election observer.
So he's the right man to be here. I do have Bolahon Olojede. I've borrowed him now. Bolahon is a chartered accountant and, of course, a public affairs analyst. All right, gentlemen, yes, a president-elect is here, but not yet Uhuru ahead of May 29.
Well, thank you very much.
Did you see the election in Lagos?
I observed it.
Okay.
Yeah, I observed it, and my colleagues also did. And, we cross-checked notes, because that is what we do. You cannot be everywhere. You'll be in a particular place, you get information from others, and, you listen to the media to get, other information from, other places. So the election has come and gone. The election was conducted, majorly in substantial compliance with the provisions of the electoral based on our own observations, because we saw people come to the polling stations, votes were counted, results entered.
Nelson, but I was there, but reports from outstation, from our correspondents, seem to dictate otherwise.
Well, you have to recognize that the elections took place in 176,606 polling units. So if you want to contest such an election that it didn't comply substantially with the provisions of the electoral, you have to identify where and when where the infractions occurred. So it is not for you to just, somebody said there was violence in some polling units. And the question I asked, how many? Where? Because the electoral act recognizes that you cannot have an election with total compliance, because the elections are conducted by human beings, and human beings are the stakeholders there.
Nelson Bolahon was on duty on election morning.
Yes, I was. And of course, initially in the morning of the election, everything was actually very peaceful. Nigerians turned out in their numbers. And we were excited in the studio. The report that were coming in were nice. Until people started waiting 2 hours, 3 hours, either the electoral materials or the election officials were not arriving. So the initial glitches had to do with logistic failure. But, we got past that, and people started to vote. Of course, like Nelson said, there was violence. But overall, as far as violence is concerned, this election will go down as the least violent in recent history. Comparatively in recent history, yes. We've had elections in which, even in Lagos, 3 days after the election, shooting, people were still abandoning their houses and running away because shooting across streets kept going on, So in terms of violence, despite the fact that there was violence, this remained the least violent election. I don't think that the grievances in this election were about violence. Okay. I think it's stemmed from the subject matter of transmission of result.
Nelson, but the INEC could have done better.
Yes, I agree, because, but, we foresaw this. We foresaw some of the glitches that occurred. Don't forget, some days or about a week to the election, the INEC chairman ran to the CBN governor, complaining of the threat to the successful conduct of the election by the socio-economic reality. I hope Nigerians haven't forgotten that. And the CBN governor was assuring him that he was going to make cash available. And, the glitches we saw with regards to the early arrival or the late arrival of INEC officials at the polling stations might not be unconnected with it. I'm not in a position...
With
the socio-economic... Yeah, that's what... When I say socio-economic reality,
okay.
I don't work for INEC, so I'm not in a position to speak for them. But I want to assume that just as the cash crunch affected voters' turnout, I'm sure, or I want to believe, that it could have been responsible for their late arrivals. Because don't forget, a lot of persons, unlike in the past, I know people who leave Lagos to go to Ibadan, to go to Sokoto, to go to Cano, to cast their vote. But in the era of cash scarcity, you know, the hassles, the stress they have to go through, some just said, man, I'm not going anywhere this time around. So it must have, you know, had an effect. It must have had an effect on the election. But what we are saying here is that within the socio-economic reality that INEC worked, I want to say with all sense of responsibility, I give INEC, you know, a very high score.
Okay. We all of us here belong in a country of conspiracy theories, and these theories are fueled by speculations that nobody challenges. So here we are, but many Nigerians are anything but happy with the process.
Okay. If you remember in the earlier this morning, I spoke about the fact that a lot of emphasis have been laid upon the things that did not go right. And, you know, yes, and because the things that did not go right, especially one of them was deeply fundamental, nobody is even talking about what went right. And there are a number of things that went right in this election. One of it that is usually misconceived is the Beavers issue. The Beavers did not fail anybody. The Beavers worked very well and delivered exactly on what it was intended to deliver on. If you speak with anybody who voted...
We have widespread complaints about Beavers.
No?
No,
we don't have Beavers. Anybody who voted in this election, ask them.
Was captured
the accreditation process was very smooth. Everything was fast. In fact, within 2 minutes, you are done with your own voting when it is just, you know, time to vote. So Beavers delivered on accreditation. As a matter of fact, you know, this election, incidentally, despite all the awareness and consciousness and stuff, according to the INEC numbers, recorded the lowest voter turnout at less than 25 million. That is the lowest since 1999. So there are...
What does that tell you?
There are several ways to look at it. What first came to my mind was the fact that it is possible that this is the first time we're having the real figures. Because in previous elections, we have this room for what is called incidence form. Those incidence form represent an opportunity for fabrication. Because what incidence form is actually saying is that, oh, this guy, we couldn't accredit him, but he's here, but he belongs to this polling unit. Therefore, write his name down, let him vote. And he votes. We don't know how many names have been built on incidence forms in previous elections about people who could not be accredited. So it is possible that this is the first time we're actually getting real numbers. The other part is to say that maybe it is voter suppression that's made the numbers to go down, where people suppressed from voting.
Who could have suppressed voters?
There are all sort of allegations of voter suppression, and they could take all sort of shapes and form. The prominent one are to say, oh, in certain parts, some hoodlum are saying, oh, if you are for this person, you cannot vote. And we saw that in a few viral videos in the south, in the southeast, and probably in the north as well.
Yeah, okay.
I want to add one part that people did not, a lot of people did not pay attention to, which also affected voting. It has to do with the religious bodies and their influence on voters. I believe that the role of religious leaders was to guide people on leadership and how to choose a leader to vote for, not to come with ballot papers to the pulpit or to the mosque, telling them where to put, or you know, to demonstrate that this is the candidate you must vote for, and this.
That happened.
There are viral videos. There are viral videos in which there are more or less like spiritual threats and curses from religious leaders saying this is who you must vote for, this is who you must not vote for.
Those are not religious leaders. Those are religious dealers.
And this has impact because we live in a country where, okay, let me use the Pentecostal churches example, where there are wives who first of all listen to their pastor before they listen to their husband.
Absolutely.
So when those kind of people are coming to the pulpit to say things, it happened in the mosque too. We saw clerics who were saying you must not vote for this person because he's not a real Muslim or it's not this. Those things also are voter manipulation, and they might have their effect on how people behaved in this particular election.
Nelson, there had been this much talk about voter education. Was that asking for too much?
No, absolutely not. What this election has taught some of us is that there is need for us to have an advocacy. There is need for us to have a discussion about how to reason, how to think. Because I can't imagine at my age, with my exposure, a cleric will tell me and be issuing threats that I'm going to curse you. I will ask him, who gave you the power to curse? Have you blessed yourself? So it tells you the primitiveness of the reasoning of quite a number of our people. And for me, it's sad. And that is why, with the outcome of this election, I've told some of my friends, I want to return to the true religious, denominations that
Which is which one?
The CNS, yes. Because what I see, yes.
Don't mention any name.
No, I'm not. I don't know. Cherubim and Seraphim. That was where I was born. I was born into Cherubim and Seraphim, by my parents. In those religious sects, there's sensitivity, there's responsibility to the feelings of members. There's
at the time,
I'm sure it still exists. It's because we have abandoned all those our age-long, values for modern-day civilization that is going to turn the world into something else. And so maybe I need to go back there and explore whether the situation there is still the same.
Nelson, you must be scandalized that since 1999 through to now, 24 years, our electoral system is still undergoing what we're seeing.
No, I'm not scandalized because I've been an active, participant in the electoral process. And I can tell you for free, we have made tremendous progress. But what we have is that as a people, from 1999 till now, we have degenerated further, such that, just a minute, Citizen Joe, such that somebody comes on air and makes an allegation. And the umpire, just like Donald Trump did in the US, the whole world, Donald Trump said it was rigged out. And the whole world said, where is your proof? And the man is telling us, I don't need proof, just believe the word of my mouth. And that is exactly what is happening. Somebody comes to a collation center and was making all sorts of allegations, and the electoral umpire said, look, I'm not disputing you, but please, can you provide evidence to substantiate? And the next thing, the man walks out. What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
But mine is this. Second Republic politics tells me that finesse, sophistication, and what have you pervaded the atmosphere. You wanted to hear what new expression you could get from K.O. Mbadiwe, Awolowo Zik, Waziri Ibrahim, But nowadays, the soapbox is where a politician will spill venom and what have you. That's a degeneration.
Well, it is a degeneration, and it is not unexpected. You see, the politics of those years that you referred to were politics of ideology, and the ideologies were deeper. What we have right now, if any at all, the ideologies are relatively shallow. So you take a PRP in Cano in those days, this is a socialist leaning, and it is clear that this is it. That is where it stands. Or you come to the UPN, so you begin to see all those, the areas of focus are clear to see. So you see the free education, you see the free healthcare, you see all those things. If you go to the MPN, you also see their own. So it's clearer.
Bola, at that time too, Nigerians were owners of political parties. They paid dues, and they had
the feeling of, they like to belong to a party, to be members and financial members as well.
Not so anymore.
No, not so anymore.
Where did we drop the ball?
Parties are financed by a few people in position to put down the money. And the same people...
And they're not doing that for nothing.
Control. Of course, they're not doing it for nothing. It's also for a return. It's seen as like an investment in that space. So he who pays the piper calls the tune. So calling the tune is an important... It's an important negative that this attitude has brought on the table. And it just needs to change. Nigerians must learn to be part of a political party, be willing to contribute to the financing of a political party, so that we can widen the financing base of parties and make them less susceptible to the control of the power funders.
The plutocrats,
yes,
Nelson, have taken over.
Yes, absolutely. It's because we have allowed them. And like Bola rightly said, I recollect in those years, not too far away, where society was ruled by ideas, where your father or your mother belonged to a party, and the political education, the man will come home, and try to give it to his children, and he goes there even with the wife. But these days we run a political system in which, when people say political parties don't have ideologies, the question I ask, we ourselves as citizens, we should ask ourselves, what is our own ideology? Because a political party ideology does not just exist in the cloud. It's a conglomeration of the ideology of the founders of the party, as well as people who key into it. But what do we have? We have a situation whereby people want to associate with political parties, so that when they go to meetings, maybe on any days of the week, they come home with maybe souvenirs and what have you, maybe food, maybe food packs. It is not about what are they even doing here, what are they discussing, to better our society, because party politicking, is meant, to provide governance that will ameliorate the human conditions, nothing else. It is not for sharing. It is for solving problems, societal problems.
Yeah, but Bola, I'm looking at a system in this country, my country, your country, where a Nigerian in Ghana would be free to vote in an election.
Well, I believe we will get there, but we're not.
We're making haste very slowly.
We've not even been able to perfect the internal one. Not to talk of how that other one will play out. So can we even perfect what we're having? And it's also important to recognize that we're actually moving forward as far as the electoral process is concerned. The electoral law that we have today is the best it has been in 24 years. Despite the fact that it still has some rooms.
Do we obey laws?
That's another problem. Do we obey laws? We've had a program earlier this morning where we had people who were saying, oh, I don't believe we will get judgment. I don't believe we'll get justice. What are they going to do in the court? We have not even fully imbibed what democracy is all about. The court system is an integral part of democracy. Absolutely. In fact, without the court system, democracy will fail. Absolutely. It will collapse totally.
So, but we know that in the United Kingdom, the United States of America, the judiciary hardly intervenes.
But if there is a dispute, it goes to the court. It is a dispute that could not be resolved at the level of the electoral umpires, because in the United States, for example, you don't even have a central electoral umpire. Each of the states conduct their own election, and they have a way of aggregating all this and the rest of it.
You have very less friction.
Very less friction. And then because they are committed to democracy, that commitment is very important. It is commitment that makes a contestant who might not have won or who has certain beef or challenges to say, look, in the interest of democracy,
I let go.
I let go. So those happen in those kind of environments, but we are not quite there here, which is why.
Nelson, gadgetry is supposed to refine the system here, but gadgetry has become a weapon. You understand what I mean?
Yes, I understand what you mean. You mean the beavers now?
Yeah,
which work very well.
Let me give you a brief education on it. Like Bola rightly said, in 2015, 2019, we had the e-card reader and the incidence form, and it was abused. You recollect the judgment with regards to Rivers and Akwa Ibom states, you know. So the electoral law was amended to accommodate the beavers, and the beavers is to accredit and nothing else. And like Bola rightly said, the beavers worked very well. Where people are raising eyebrow, or where some of the candidates are trying to latch on, you know, to mislead and incite the people, which I think why we have a more saner electoral system in the in the older democracies, is because we have an informed citizenry. Because if you have submitted to the democratic process, you must also submit to the, you know, to the dispute resolution mechanism that is inbuilt. Because if you are aggrieved, the law says go to court. For you to be disparaging the system that, will you get justice in court, then you shouldn't have even entered the race at all. If you know you don't believe you want to believe in only one part and leave the other part, that means you are being hypocritical. I will tell you for free, I monitored and supervised over 100 observers, and as we speak, we've had
foreign
local observers scattered across the 36 states and Abuja. As we speak, all our almost 90% of our observers said the result sheets that was signed at the polling stations, as well as by the party agents and the security officers, including the INEC presiding officer, that the results that was uploaded to the IREV portal is in sync with what they got at the polling stations. These are observers. So just now we watched behind us where the Nigerian Bar Association scored the election high. So when people come to make allegations, like I always say, I wasn't there. I couldn't have been everywhere. I just told you the election was conducted in 176,606 polling units
across the country.
And the only people that had agents in all the polling units were just two political parties. That is the APC and the PDP. Others had less than 128,000 observers, party agents. So the parties had their agents everywhere. As at Saturday night, Sunday morning, almost all the parties that had their agents in all the polling stations had gotten the results through their agents. And that is why when some people came out and were making all those allegations, the INEC, the National Collation Officer or the Chief Collation Officer of the Federation was asking them, please provide your evidence. But because they had already seen the results, and they wanted to be clever by half, they are doing everything, within the books and outside of it, to taint the credibility of the election. Don't also forget that even before the election results were out, these were same persons and their cronies who were calling for cancellation of a baby that was about to be delivered in the labor room. I don't know where you can conduct such an abortion. Maybe you want to bring a neurosurgeon, to come and conduct an abortion for such a case.
All right, take your time from us. 28 minutes past 8, and this is Citizen Jones this morning on the Voice of the People Radio, 90.3 FM on your dial. And this morning we are saying, yes, a president-elect is here, but not yet Uhuru, ahead of May 29. But the people are still not convinced by the system. And that is big trouble in itself.
This is where the skills of even the politicians themselves to manage the situation is important. You see, this democratization of information, where information is everywhere, had its own negative side.
Yeah.
Because people who have influence, who have followership, can influence how people think. You can actually tune them. And while that could be positive in certain instances, it could also be negative. So we have to manage the process properly. And what can help to manage the situation the right way is actually the court. You see, if you say a president has been declared, two other parties are saying they are the one, their own candidate are the ones that should have been declared. Three people did not win this election. One person must have won the election. Who is this one person that won the election? One has been declared. So if we're going to change that, it will require that evidences be provided that, look, there was this massive rigging that happened. And that the rigging was so pervasive that it will have changed the course of who was declared if there was no rigging. To show that, it has to be evidence-based. For me, it is not as difficult as people are presenting it. That is because there were agents at polling units. There were also individuals who got copies of those reports. Can we gather all these evidences, tally them, present them before the court? Yesterday, the parties have sought the leave of the court to inspect electoral materials. So they are, as we are speaking, they are probably in the archives of INEC going through those materials and taking samples or copies. Let's be able to use that to establish a case before the court and let the court help us to resolve a dispute in which three candidates are saying they won the election.
All right. Let me share the statement of a former Indian president who you are familiar with, Nelson. She was shot, Indira Gandhi. She said, winning or losing an election is less important than strengthening the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, you talked. The question you threw to Bolao about trust. You see, like this normal, this is our usual saying that you can't give what you don't have. The truth of the matter is that trust is in deficit in this land. A lot of our people don't even trust themselves. So when you throw facts, because I pity the young generation the most. I tell them, even in my home, I educate my children that, look, when I say some things and my children are like, oh, Daddy, are you sure? I'll say, look, Google is your friend. Go and investigate what I've told you. There are documents for you to go and verify on. Don't rely on what I've said alone. But you know what happened? This generation is such that when you give them information, they are not ready to read. In fact, one of them told me that I should not bother myself, that their generation is copy and paste. Because you know why? In our days, even when information is brought to us, we go outside to ensure that we are not misled. I'll give you myself as an example.
Because at the time, you didn't have the social...
Yes. I'll give myself as an example. I belong to several organizations in which I hold positions. And I think I must have said it here. I'm the chairman, I am the secretary of some. Chairman would direct me as the secretary to convene a meeting. And how do I convene meeting? Because of civilization. I don't need to call everybody. I will send an SMS on the organization's portal where I will send a bulk SMS to everybody. Lo and behold, members will start calling me. Nelson, please, I saw your SMS. What is inside? What is in it? I'm like, oh my God. Something you have received. You want me to come and read it again for you? I will now say, please, can you open it and read? And if you are not clear, then come back. The man will tell you, no, I don't have time to read it. Please tell me.
Oh boy.
So you can imagine. That's the type of society, that's the type of people we are talking about. People who want to make an omelette without breaking an egg.
Nelson, so let me use this street balance. Now, like this, we go the day.
No, we not go day like this. That's why immediately we are through with this cycle of elections. I've discussed with a lot of my friends. We need to bring the young ones on board. I started with, telling you that we need an advocacy on how to reason. It's like the reasoning level of Nigerians are sunk to the lowest ebb. And if we want to develop our society like other societies have developed, societies that have developed are societies in which people ask questions with open mind. But a situation whereby when people even have, you remember this famous word that if you want to hide the information from a Nigerian, put it in a book. They will never open it for years to come. So that is how bad we have sunk. But we like you said, that like this we go they do. No way, we don't go there like this. We just have to change.
So where do we go from here, Gbolahan? Building trust in the system.
Building trust in the system.
And by the way, politics seems to have been a new way of life. Some people, a young boy graduates from university. Ask him what he wants to do next.
Wants to make money.
I won't be PA to politician. So politics has become a full-time job here.
It is a full-time job. You see, building trust is an all-involving situation. And I will use this election as an example. What has provided the basis for launching all these grievances that we're talking about? It is what appeared to be a betrayal of trust. So, in the months leading up...
But the seeds were sown years and years
The
ago.
years have been... Oh, no, of course. We didn't get there in a day. But when you have a situation in which the electoral umpire actually consistently told the voters or the citizen that, look, the result will be transmitted. That was a commitment. I still listen to the IT guy of the electoral body a day to the election on live TV, still saying transmission of results. So the question is, if you made promise and you consistently harped on that promise, why did you not make sure that it happened? Because it did not happen, that has created, in the real sense, if that had happened, this case might have been plain vanilla, it might have been easier. But it did not happen. So people have a basis to start building all the whatever, you can call it conspiracy theories if you like, but it is based on the fact that that commitment, INEC held itself out, that I was going to do it this way. It did not do it that way. And that formed the basis for what we're struggling with today.
Nelson, 18 parties contested the presidency, and almost all, I hope I'm right, signed to the peace agreement,
Peace agreement.
So is it funny?
No, I'll let Nelson talk about peace agreement.
That peace is not here anymore.
Well, it tells you, it's a reflection of the reality that, when they commit to peace agreements, that, they don't feel that they are bound, to comply with whatever they have signed. And, it's in tandem with how a lot of us, behave. Because you see people behaving like a lot of us behaving like that woman that came to King Solomon in the Bible. That, when two women came and they were saying, I'm the owner of the child, I'm the owner, and the king said, okay, I will cut the child into two. And the froster among them, she said, okay, go ahead, cut the child into two. But the real mother said, no, please don't cut the child, give it to her. I'll prefer my child be alive, In due time, justice will come. So that is how the average, some of our people behave. And, it's worrisome. And I don't blame them.
And for people, for a country where religious fervor,
yes, religious ethnicity and what. So I don't blame them. It is the fact that the government has failed over the years to invest, appropriately in education. Because if you have an educated and informed citizenry, some of these things that these guys are flying around with, they will know that there's no market.
Nelson, the citizenry is informed here.
Well, they are being informed is not by word of mouth, it's by their conduct, by their reasoning, not what they say. A situation whereby somebody clones the British Prime Minister's letterhead and claims the British Prime Minister is calling for cancellation of election. Do you need to put on your thinking cap to know that calling for cancellation of election in Nigeria? French President Macron, the only authority they have not cloned, to take the people for a ride is the Almighty God. And you have some questions you should ask.
Are you sure about that, Nelson?
I want to believe.
No,
I want to believe
you're not right, because see, do you know how many people said they heard from God that there will be no election on February 25?
Absolutely, I agree with you. So, but you and I know that.
And there were people who believe that.
Which God?
Which of the gods?
That is the question.
Okay. Well, please, which of the God?
We don't know who they are talking to.
Okay.
We don't know who they are talking to.
But that's a degeneration,
absolutely,
as I said earlier.
Yes, absolutely.
So have we become this clannish and tribalistic to the point where the country must go to hell?
In fact,
because some people must be president and so on.
Yes, that is the yes, that you saw there was even one that I'm going to take up his case personally. I'm going to report him to the international committee.
Don't use this place.
No, I'm not using it. I'm just informed. Because you know why? These persons are politically exposed, that if anything happens, it's very easy for them to take the next available flight. But a lot of us, we don't have anywhere to go. And we need to caution Nigerians.
I have a place to go. I'll go to Akwa Ibom.
Oh, Akwa Ibom is in Nigeria. Okay. I'm sure Akwa Ibom is not, Akwa Ibom is not outside Nigeria. So I think we need to caution our people that in the midst of, this high emotion, display, we should be circumspect. We should be sensitive and responsible to one another. Nigeria does not exist only for elections. We have a life outside of elections.
Bolahan, where you hear statements like, even if not Christ conduct elections here,
he cannot conduct a free and fair election. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo.
We're not damned. And like I said, to my mind, we are actually improving. Despite the hitches, despite my last whatever, I spoke about what created the basis for what we're having now, which I'm hoping that it will not be the same on March 11. If INEC is not going to transmit results, it had better say that I won't be able to do this transmission. Because INEC under its law has a discretion to choose how it will collate its result. But don't make a commitment. Yeah, Nelson.
Yes, you recognize that INEC does not have control over the network. I voted in a polling station, and you know what? Let us even tell ourselves the practical example what happened in our polling stations. Once the polling officer gets to 100 accreditation, I don't know if it happened in your station, he or she tries to upload.
Was on duty.
Pardon?
He was on duty.
Yes, he or she tries to upload that figure. And you recognize that at times, even the polling officers were telling us that they're having problems uploading while election was going on. That they have to stop and tell you that, look, I have to upload this thing so that what we are doing here will not amount to nullity.
I like what you have brought on board. Now, this transmission thing, you see, before this general elections, there have been off-cycle elections, and a lot of things have been tested. Now, here is the problem. In an off-cycle election, there is no off-cycle election that goes beyond one state. Now, when you come to general elections, you are talking of 36 plus 1 states.
Yeah.
That is humongous compared to an off-cycle election. That is on one part. On the other part is the fact that in an off-cycle election, let's say an off-cycle election in Anambra, I may not be interested. I've not been to Anambra for about 20 years now, and maybe I don't have a horse in the race. I may not be interested, so I won't bother as a citizen sitting here in Lagos to say I want to see what is going on IREV. That is different from when the election becomes a general election. I can assure you that the probability that 50 million people were trying to log on to IREV on 25th is right there. So the sheer volume of the fact that you are dealing with 36 plus 1 state, and you now have citizens from all across Nigeria
and
try to get onto that system, means that the system will slow down tremendously.
Yeah.
Did INEC not foresee that?
All right, so let's terminate this discussion just so the listener might be a part of it. March 11, next Saturday, March 11, the governorship polls will be on. So, Nelson, is it another round of disaster waiting to happen?
The disaster has not happened. Okay. The election has...
Another round of difficulties and...
no, I don't foresee difficulty.
They should release Naira, Sha.
I don't foresee difficulty. I foresee optimism that the elections will come. The electoral umpire will perform very well like it has done, in which the conduct of the election has been in substantial compliance. I told you there's no perfect election. So long as human beings are involved, there will be margin of error. But going to March 11, I expect that some of the glitches that we saw with regards to the late arrival, with the Supreme Court judgment of yesterday, one is hopeful that maybe there will be an improvement in logistics arrangements.
Bola, do you see the judiciary being overburdened?
It's overburdened already. The Supreme Court in Nigeria, for example, is probably the most overburdened Supreme Court in the world. With the volume of work as we speak. Now, there is a national call, which is a priority issue for them again. And this time around, they are going to be focused on the presidential thing. There are some of the National Assembly, too, that will end up in court. We already saw that some have not been announced as we speak. So, we will join that with the GUBA and the State House of Assembly cases. Over time, well, those ones will not come directly to the Supreme Court, but they will still pass through the normal judicial system. So it's an overburdened situation. And the more as we continue to improve the electoral system in itself, and politicians start to behave better, or maybe we'll compel them to behave better, the burden on the court system will also start to reduce. We must, even as citizens, begin to understand democracy better. I heard citizens who were saying things along the line of, what is the Supreme Court saying? We don't, as if you don't have to obey the Supreme Court. And you say you want democracy. You don't even understand what democracy is.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you will know that when Roe versus Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court in the United States, Joe Biden did not like it. But they no bonner. Nothing we feel.
He had no choice.
He had no choice. And that is how it works in the places where we copied democracy from.
All right, we'll stop it here. The listener is free to comment. Yes, we have a president-elect as we speak, but not yet Uhuru ahead of May 29. 0700 903 903 903. Let's take your comments. Hello, good morning. We have a first comment here. Good morning to you.
Morning, sir. I want to thank you all for...
Please put off your radio. Please put off your radio.
I want to thank you all for the work you do.
But tell us the name where you're calling from.
My name is Emmanuel. I'm calling from Nasarawa.
Yes, Emmanuel.
I want to thank you all for what you are doing. Trying to educate and the general populace and the public. The elections have come in one part, meaning another part now. So, but one thing I want us to let Nigerians know is that whatever happened when you do a thing and it looks like you didn't get it right, you try it again, you get it right from that process, I think it will help to dampen the already tense situation.
Thank you. Thank you.
And, well, that is all I have to say for now.
Yeah. 60 seconds,
not give up.
Many thanks. Okay, he said, let the youths not give up.
Yes, the youths need to acquaint themselves with the provisions of the Electoral Act as well as the Constitution to help them better.
Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, Citizen Jones.
Yeah.
Good morning once again.
Welcome.
Now, Citizen Jones, if
Ambassador, introduce yourself.
This is Ambassador Musa from Wish.
Yes.
If let's want to go where we go, Citizen Jones, let us meet at a powered bar. Let's go there. You can go to Kerubu or whatever. Let us remain as our own bar, Jari. Now, to me, on this election, I think I want to call all of them to remember what is time. And at the same time, this election was credible. This is the first time that none of the North states produced more than 1 million. It's only Cano State close. But before this time, is it 2 million, 3 million? So this debate work. It worked fantastic. But, some people now, if they don't like, no matter how good things, if they don't favor them, they will throw it into the dustbin. We should not allow that. I say let them go to court, and court will provide and give them.
Thank you, Musbal. Ambassador. Many
thanks. Good morning.
All right. The line is open. 0700 903 903 903. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
All right. Good morning to you.
Yeah.
Your name?
This is JD. This is JD. I'm calling from Ogun State.
Okay then.
So, I've been listening all along. Though my enemy is feeling so bad. I can tell you that millions of Nigerians, youths, most especially, are not happy with the way Nigeria is. Whether you like it or not, the way things are going in this country is very bad. Because this is the only country people used to preach. Go and take your PVC. Go and get your PVC. Go and vote. Go and vote so that you can have a voice. Now the millions of Nigerians have suffered going along the streets, standing in the sun, in the rain, casting their votes. Like one of you rightly said, we will place our trust in INEC and the chairman of INEC. But today, this is what we are getting. The only thing I want to say is a prayer point, that may the Lord Almighty take control of this nation. And
we ended there.
As many that does not want to see something good, as many that does not want to see something good in Nigeria, may Almighty God reward them in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, except that you don't command God. You allow him to do his work. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. Your name, where you're calling from?
This is Moses calling from Ikeja.
All right, Moses, go on.
Thank you very much. I've been listening to all the conversation and the analysis there. I strongly believe that whoever wins is our own view. But one thing I would like to say is that INEC tell Nigeria. And that is what we're supposed to learn, especially all those ones that are coming to be our leader. What you know that you cannot be able to offer us, don't tell us. It is a heartbreak that you tell us that this is how you will do things, and later you do it the other way around. Okay, these people that say they are doing court, I wish them well. But all I'm saying is that let that transmission result be made known to Nigerians. At least by the time they record all the results from the rivers and it corresponds with what we announced, who will have anything again?
Thank you. 60 seconds are up. Thank you. Many thanks.
Citizen, I think Nigerians need to get themselves acquainted with the rules governing elections. It will help them the better. Okay.
All right. Let me take one call again. Good morning to you.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Your name, where you're calling from? Laiwala, you are on air. Go on.
Yeah, what is happening in Nigeria right now, it's like we don't know what we are in, right? everything has a reason. Because nothing will happen without no God that the God must know about it. We have no truth in this country. When someone will come, we talk to you and go again. And then what is said will not go to the work again.
Except that
I don't know what
your radio is still on. That's my trouble here. Are you there?
Okay, citizen.
Yeah.
Like
okay. Yeah.
Like I rightly said, Nigerians, most especially the youth, need to acquaint themselves with the rules governing the democratic process.
Okay.
For the transmission of results, the rule is stated in INEC's rules and guidelines, where it says, I think whether it will transmit results and transfer in a cellophane, sealed and accompanied by a security agent or security official. That is in Rule 35(1) and 2 of the rules and guidelines. So INEC came out and told you that she's going to, transmit the results as well as transfer. But because of technical glitches, the transmission could have had problems. But did INEC fulfill the other part of the rules? And that is where I said every party polling agent, every party's agent at the polling unit was mandated by law to have a copy of the results duly signed by 3 parties. That is the INEC personnel, that's the polling officer, the security officer there, as well as the party agents. If INEC has done this, INEC has fulfilled a part of that, provisions. So what we should be asking, what could have been the reason for the non-fulfillment of the other part? That is where INEC needs to give us a reason. And I recollect that INEC had to issue a statement explaining that it was due to technical issues that they were unable to load it real time, but that they are, they were continuously making efforts to upload it. And when INEC uploaded the result, they even sent the information out again. Now that is why I came here and I told you that my observers who were accredited by INEC have told us at our post-mortem of the election that, sir, the election result sheets with me, the results on the portal tallies is the same. There's no difference. And that is why when Senator Dino Melaye was, making his case at the National Coalition Center, Senator Dino Melaye was only being clever by half, because you can imagine if they have to upload all the 176,606 polling units for you in Abuja, where that action is not supposed to take place at all. That place is for compilation. It was just a formality of what are transferred. And the question I tell people is that they should ask these parties, did your agents complain at the polling station, ward, local government, and state? If the answer is no, then people should know that they are taking them for a ride.
All right. How do you close? Take us home.
For citizens, I would say let's calm down. Let's have trust in the judicial system, because it's an integral part of our democracy. Let's put together, for the aggrieved parties, gather together all your evidences and present before the court. The court work with evidences. And let's maintain the peace. It's only in peace that we can develop as a country.
All right. I want to thank you very kindly. We stop the program here. Plato, the Greek philosopher, said something. Let me share it with you. He said, quote, "One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors," end quote. And the future of this republic is in the hands of the Nigerian voter. I'm out of here. See you on Saturday, election morning. Take care. Bye-bye now.